Rachel has wanted to be someone she's not. She's chosen not to just be herself, but to represent herself as an African-American woman or a biracial person, and that's simply not true.
A truly bizarre story out of Spokane, Washington continues to unravel tonight after the white parents of a local civil rights activist have come forward and claimed that their daughter has been misrepresenting herself as black for years. 37-year-old Rachel Dolezal has served as the president of the NAACP chapter in Spokane since January of this year. She's also a part-time professor of Africana Studies at a local university and has recently claimed to be the victim of several hate crimes. As questions about the credibility of those claims were being raised this week, a white couple from Troy, Montana, came forward to local media to say that Dolezal is their child and that she has been deceiving people about her racial identity. Lawrence and Ruth Ann Dolezal have provided an apparent birth certificate to several media outlets, listing them as the parents of Rachel Dolezal, as well as supplying several family photos of Rachel as a young child. And at her wedding to an African-American man in May of 2000, a man she has since divorced. Now, the couple told the Washington Post that Rachel's interest in African-American culture began when she was a teenager, after the family adopted 4 young African-American children. But the Dolezal family has been estranged for years. Lawrence and Ruth Ann Dolezal, along with their adopted sons, Ezra and Zach, do not speak with Rachel because they say she alleged abuse in the family. Rachel Dolezal also obtained custody of her 21-year-old African-American adopted brother, Isaiah, and the family's now alleging that Rachel says Isaiah is her son. He lives with Rachel in Spokane. Local TV station Spokane spoke with Rachel Dolezal earlier this week about a series of hate crimes she's reported over the past several years, including alleged hate mail sent to the NAACP P.O. box that Dolezal had access to. The reporter then asked Dolezal to explain a photo that was posted earlier this year on the NAACP Spokane Facebook page showing Dolezal and an African-American man. In the description accompanying that post, the man is identified as Dolezal's father.
Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's my dad.
This man right here is your father? Right there?
You have a question about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was wondering if your dad really is an African-American man.
That's a very, I mean, I don't know what you're implying.
Are you African-American?
I don't understand the question of, I did tell you that, yes, that's my dad. And he was unable to come in January.
Are your parents, are they white?
Tonight, the Spokane Police Department, along with the FBI and the Postal Service, say they have dropped their investigations into the alleged hate mail sent to Rachel Dolezal. In the meantime, the National NAACP says it is standing by Dolezal and her advocacy record. Joining me now, Lacey Schwartz. She's the writer, director, and producer of Little White Lie, an autobiographical documentary dealing with the complexities of racial identity. Lacey, how are you?
Good. Great to see you, Chris.
It's great to see you, too. So you have this amazing movie about your own story. You grew up as a white Jewish kid in upstate New York, only to find out later that that you were black, that your father was black, that the man you thought your father wasn't your father, and you had been essentially passing without your own knowledge for your entire childhood. And the movie's an amazing movie, and look at that. And I wanted to talk to you about this story. What is your reaction to this, which has dropped the jaws of all of the internet, as far as I can tell?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's fascinating to see the reaction to it, right? And I think it really just shows how much people want to talk about racial identity and how people are struggling to really figure it out. But I mean, you said it just before in your intro. There's so many different dynamics in this story, obviously, with her family, and none of us know the truth, right? None of us know what's going on. But clearly, whatever's going on with that family has deeply affected her identity.
The NAACP's response to this, which is to basically stand by her, I mean, it's been interesting to watch the fallout from this. I've seen some people express anger at her, and I think the anger probably revolves around a sense of a kind of appropriation or a lie or deception, also the hate crime filings, which may have been false. But I also seen other people just say, I'm not angry, I'm just bewildered or astounded, and I can't believe she pulled this off.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that, you know, people's identities are so affected by their family. Clearly mine was. And you have to wonder what's going on there. And it's really, really hard to think about it and bring up all the hypotheticals, because there could be so much stuff going on there. And I think you see people's reactions based on what they've decided to believe in or deal with. And it also just makes you ask, why would you lie? And I think this idea of consciously lying and the potential of that, it can imply a lot of different things.
There's also the there's also the idea, which comes across so strongly in your movie, is just the idea that, you know, race and racial hierarchy and racism are very real things. But race is a thing, as like that person is a black person, that person's a white person, is not a real thing.
Right.
And this is one of those moments where the kind of permeability and imaginary nature of that is really brought into stark relief.
Definitely, although again, because there is also this mix of the potential of lying, right, it would be almost, in my opinion, maybe less of a Twitter frenzy, but more interesting if actually she was coming out and saying, this is how I came up, but this is how I identify, and this is what I claim as part of it. That would be a little bit more interesting, because you have to ask yourself, if she is lying, why does she feel like she has to?
You think is false.
She went to Howard University. The reporting we have indicates that she wasn't lying then. She was just a white student at Howard University. But there's also this sense, you talked about in your film, there's this amazing moment in your film where you talk about the sort of way that you were kind of welcomed into blackness, that there was this sort of outstretched arms you found in this community that is obviously incredibly diverse within itself.
Exactly.
And I wondered what you thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I grew up in a space where it was kind of like I was an extension of my family. And as opposed to, I would say a lot of times, like at Georgetown where I went to college, a lot of the white Jewish students, and I grew up in a white Jewish community, would question me and say, wow, it's so crazy that you're Jewish. But the black students wouldn't say the same thing. In that community, they understood the full diversity of who we could be. And that's why I'm saying, like, even this conversation around her, and even the way it's been set up, it's very binary, right? And the reality is it's not that binary. There's so many different ways to be so many different things, and there's so many different ways you can identify. And I think people really want a nuanced conversation of what that looks like. And I do think that people are kind of turned off by the potential of there being lies told about it. It's like, just own it if that's what you want to be.
Okay, so you think that, and there's a lot of trolling I saw from conservatives today that were like, well, if Caitlyn Jenner can say I identify as a woman, then why can't this person say I identify as black, and why can't there be a category of transracial? What's your response to that?
That maybe there can, but again, I don't believe that that's what she's doing here. She's not saying that she's transracial. She's actually out and about saying that she is that she has a black father. You know, that was one of the things that struck me the most, is that she actually says that right in that interview that you just played, that is my father. So she's not saying that I just feel such a connection that I actually am black. She's saying I actually come from black people. And so that, you know, assuming that that's not true, then I don't believe that that's the same thing.
But you do think that there could be an interesting space or conversation for someone just, like you said, owning it and basically saying, choosing a racial identity that is not the one they're essentially born with.
I think that there could be a conversation within it at least. I think, you know, we see that all the time, right, with hip hop, that there's been, hip hop in particular has brought black culture in. Now there's also a whole other conversation about cultural appropriation and whether or not that's right and wrong. And then let's have that conversation. But we're in a situation now where that's not exactly what is happening, right? She's actually claiming that she comes from at least one black parent. So that makes it even that much more tricky. But I do think it's happening all over the place. And we are seeing that conversation. I think we need to see that conversation more about what different races are. I mean, I think it's ironic that she almost felt like that somebody like her might feel like they have to choose to be black to do that work. Well, why can't you be a white person who's owning your role in the NAACP?
Yeah.
And I think we should encourage that more and more, that you don't have to be exactly like this to be able to be doing work to fight racism.
All right, Lacey Schwartz, great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, still ahead, all in the movies, and the film that took at least $25 million to make and only brought in 900. That's $900 at the box office nationwide. Don't go away.
FIFA.